Welcome back to the College Huddle, everybody. I'm your host, Eric Boggs, and today we're going to be talking about mullets and legacies in Stillwater, Oklahoma, with our College Huddle friend from the Oklahoma State podcast, Cal from the CGA Tour. Hang around, you're going to love this interview. And welcome to the College Huddle, Cal. Cal, you know all about the College Huddle, man. You were running the Big 12 College Huddle channel for us last year. And what was an interesting year in
It
Stillwater, Oklahoma.
very, very interesting. You had probably the top three favorites in the Big 12 and preseason wise, and two of them finished in the bottom of the Big 12 in Utah and Oklahoma State. One team, Oklahoma State, of course, did not win a conference game, lost 9 straight. We beat Tulsa, which was great. Third game of the season, we go 3-0 in non-conference. We beat Arkansas at home. It was a nail biter there, and we were kind of hoping maybe Arkansas would be good. Then we play Utah for our first home conference game of the season, and lose by 3. But we scored like 19 points in the fourth quarter. It was super bizarre. It was just kind of a crazy comeback we had. It didn't seem like all hope was lost after that game. Arkansas kept winning for another week or two, and then we just never got anything and our feet under us or anything. Had 20 starters returning from a team that went to the Big 12 championship game in 23, and had a Doak Walker Award winner, and Ollie Gordon, who ends up getting drafted in the 6th round a year later. So it just seems so bizarre how the whole season unfolded, and I'm excited to talk about Oklahoma State and the hopeful promises of this season here, which
Yeah.
will be a little different of expectations no matter what. But yeah, it was a very odd season last year for sure.
So and I was in preparation for this interview, Cal. I was looking over Mike Gundy's career at Oklahoma State, and obviously he's the head coach there in Stillwater in 2005. A 1-7 conference record, 4-7 overall. And then he's done nothing but win ever since then until this season. And it was so bizarre and non-Gundy like. What really happened? Because like you said, you had all these returning starters. You had a Heisman hopeful at running back. You had all the expectations in the world. You even had the peers in the conference saying, "Yeah, this is one of the better teams to look out for." Like, is there something you can put your thumb on that says, "Yeah, this was the beginning of the end for us, and we just didn't know it"? Was it all injuries? Was it something else going on behind the scenes? Like, what is it? Just a plethora of things?
Yeah, it's. I think I hope it's more of a plethora of things that have been coaching staff and previous players on the roster, because 20 players coming back, well, almost all of them are gone. There's very few amount of guys still on the roster from last year, either out of the transfer portal or just graduated and went to the NFL. I mean, we had 8 guys, 4 undrafted free agents, and 4 guys drafted. And for a Mike Gundy team, that's not the usual scenario. Usually it's guys perform really, really well, above expectations in the program. They're not seen as like everyday guys in the NFL. There's kind of a couple guys here and there. We've got Chuba Hubbard, who's made a name for himself here and there. Russell Okung back in '08 for Seattle. Like there's some guys like that, but Brandon Whedon gets drafted by the Browns in the first round, and that didn't go well. But he was an amazing college quarterback. So it's weird when you see a Gundy team get all these guys drafted, 4 guys drafted after losing 9 games in a row. But two of the guys, the guy who got drafted in the 3rd round, Nick Martin, he was injured. Like 3 games into the season, was injured. Linebacker goes out, senior leader. Colin Oliver, who went 5th round to the Packers, also a guy who just dealt with a ton of injuries. And then I just think the quarterback, Alan Bowman, is a decent quarterback. 7 years, you'd figure, hey, he's got this thing figured out. I mean, he was in college longer than I was, and that's saying something for a lot of people who know me. And it's bizarre that he was in college for so long, but didn't have more of a mindset as like what it takes to win every single game, because he was making mistakes, or he was just not willing to try to make mistakes. In 2023, when he is the starter after the first 3 games, Mike Gundy does this weird triple quarterback deal where he plays 3 different quarterbacks. One of who is his son for the first 3 games of 2023. Alan Bowman kind of wins that because he's just a little bit better. It's a little bit more of a presence around him. And then all of a sudden we win 10 games. But along the way, there were some speed bumps. There were some like, oh, that's bizarre. We scored 0 points against UCF. They're not that good. And they put up 40. And all right, but we're still going to the Big 12 championship game. Oh, but we had to beat BYU in overtime because thank goodness, they missed a point here or we missed a point there. And it just is very, very odd. And 23, we beat OU. If you're an Oklahoma State fan, that doesn't happen every single day of the week in football. Other
Hmm.
sports, we kill them. It's not even close. Maybe they have us in softball, but they're scared to wrestle against us. I mean, it's just bizarre. But in football, it's beside the point. So 23 is a winning season. Expectations are high. OU and Texas are no longer in the conference coming to 24. Texas, we've had their number, but they're always a tough team to play. And then 24, it's like we fell flat on our face. Just never woke up. I mean, that Tulsa game, we win 45-10. Ollie Gordon does not have a 100-yard rushing game. And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, what's going on against Utah at home? All right, well, maybe Cam Rising's playing, maybe he's not. We'll see. I'm feeling pretty good about it. It's our game. Utah has not come to Stillwater before to play a football game. And then all of a sudden they somehow win because the backup quarterback just has a couple more things going. And all of this is to say, I think it's really the defense. Like, I don't think the defense was able to hold up whatsoever after you have a couple injuries. Colin Oliver guy was out the second game of the year, and Nick Martin was out kind of in the fourth, fifth game against K State after the Utah game. But it's just like we just could never pick our jaw up off the ground. Like, oh my gosh, what's going on? We were playing a weird 3-3-5 defense. We had a guy coming in, Brian Nardo, who's I'm sure a very, very nice man. I don't mean to speak badly about him on that side of it, but just new to the whole deal. He came over from Gannon University, which, if you don't know, trust me, I didn't know either. It's a small college over in, I believe, the Pennsylvania area, and it's not like he was leading the team to titles or championships or anything. Gundy liked what he saw on film and liked he could run that defense and thought that defense would work well in the Big 12. And it just didn't. I mean, injuries are one thing, but the rest of the team just did not was either just not coachable into trying to win big or just was all a little bit too little too late and trying to change things. We almost beat BYU at BYU. We lost by 3. And that's kind of the okay, man, if that game had gone a different way, maybe the season wouldn't have seemed so bad. But our quarterback who started that game was a backup. He breaks his bone on a 75-yard run, and he's out for the rest of the game, and we couldn't hold on to win against BYU when we were up in the first half. So, and that's when BYU was like, hey, they're doing really good. They're ranked top 15 in the country at the time. This is all in Provo. So there's just so many different things where I'm pointing back going, could have been this, could have been this, could have been this. But where I land is defense, defensive coordinator, and this year it's all brand new. Whole entire new coaching staff except for Gundy, and new quarterbacks, new running backs, new receivers, new offensive line. I mean, just looks like we're finally embracing the portal. So we'll see.
Hmm. Jim Knowles leaves 3 years ago. Your defensive coordinator comes to Ohio State, helps lead the nation's number one defense in a national championship run in 2024. Do you think he just didn't have the personnel to run that style of defense, or was there just almost too many changes and you know the continuity was not there?
I A combination of both. I don't think he had the personnel. That Jim Knowles defense had a guy, Malcolm Rodriguez, who was like the Mike linebacker, middle linebacker. He now is not an every single down starter for the Lions, but he's a pretty consistent starter for them until he got injured this past year. And he was kind of that guy where when a defensive player for Oklahoma State makes a household name, especially in the Big 12, it's saying something. And Rodriguez was that guy. I mean, if you watch HBO Hard Knocks, he's Rigo is what the Lions are calling him because he's a sixth or seventh round draft pick who's shown up the first round draft pick that year for the Lions. And that just kind of Knowles was able to coach up some of these guys, get them to perform much more above expectations. And I just don't think Gundy thought he had the guys to really replace the guys who were losing and to keep running that same defensive scheme. And so had to switch it around, had to do something different. I just really wish it hadn't been Brian Nardo because the guy's like you're too older than I am. He's like 33, 34, hadn't been around forever. And I'm not saying that you're young, you're just automatically naive. We've seen it succeed in all other places, but there is something different when it's Jim Knowles to Brian Nardo. I mean, it's a guy who's weathered storms, been around for a while. He came to Oklahoma State from Duke, I believe, and had been around a long time. Where then all of a sudden we grab a guy who's not from the ACC, not from D1, and I forget if Gannon's D2. So it just seemed like an odd move for him to come all the way to not just FCFs, but to D1 football.
Yeah, it does. So obviously, at the end of the day, the buck stops with Gundy. He's the head coach. He's the one who makes the decisions on the coaching personnel. It seems like he feels like he did not make very good decisions, and he's going to make all those decisions again here and swing for the fences again. He's been there a long time. Like I mentioned at the beginning of this podcast, since 2005. He has amassed a total record of 169 wins, 88 losses, 102 wins inside the conference, the Big 12, to 72 losses. He's got multiple division titles. He does have a conference championship back in 2011. Oklahoma State right there knocking on the door several years for the college football playoff. 2021, they were knocking on that door. 2017, 16, 15, they were knocking on that door. 2013, 2011, they were 12-1. 2010, they were 11-2. So, I mean, this is a program that has been consistently good. Um, what is Mike Gundy's legacy? I'm assuming he's the all-time winningest coach at Oklahoma State. So, what's this man's legacy in Stillwater, number one? And what do you think his legacy is in college football?
I His legacy for Oklahoma State fans like myself who can barely remember Les Miles in '02 and '03, winning Bedlam back-to-back years where it didn't matter if we did anything besides beat OU. It's like, hey, we beat OU. That was the championship games in '02, '03. They're just coming off of some darker years in college football for Oklahoma State. Before then, Mike Gundy all of a sudden just takes us to the promised land. Just T. Boone Pickens would have loved to be around for this era of the NIL. I mean, he was pouring money into Oklahoma State. It went from being Lewis Field to being Boone Pickens Stadium. And they just did close the whole deal. And that's the same time Gundy came in. Gundy got pay raise after pay raise, but he would flirt with other schools. Every so often there'd be, wait, is he going to Tennessee for an interview? What's on? Like he's an Oklahoma State guy. He's third or fourth in passing yards all time for Oklahoma State. He's an Oklahoma State guy. He was in the backfield handing it off to Barry Sanders and Thurman Thomas. What are we doing? But then it's like, all right, well, maybe he's trying to get a pay raise. And sure enough, okay, it's probably getting a pay raise and stuff. So there's a couple years there that's like, hey, you're doing that in 2014 after, yeah, we beat OU, but like we got 6 wins, man. Like, what are we? You're asking for a pay raise at the wrong time, kind of. The 2011 year will always be a stinger because that year, if we beat Iowa State, if the field goal goes through the upright, which I don't know if it did or not, we play that game the same day that some other members of the Oklahoma State community, Nick Grant on the women's basketball side, were in a plane crash and passed. It's a Friday night. It was very odd, but that year could have been hey, you don't want to see an SEC championship game be the national championship game and LSU playing Alabama? Oklahoma State should have been there, in my opinion, of course. But we beat we beat Stanford, we beat Antioch, we won the Fiesta Bowl, we beat Ryan Tannehill that year, we beat several other starting quarterbacks in the NFL with Brandon Whedon, and of course Justin Blackman, who's back-to-back Blitnikoff Award winner. It just is, man, it's just like we're so close to being just incredible every so often. And are we going to get there? And I would say his legacy to me is someone who's, I'm a big Gundy fan. I believe he can, for lack of a better term, turn the program around because I think 1 year is not necessarily needing to turn it all the way around. I just think maybe we're off the side of the road and we need to get back on it. But it's a tough look. This offseason in December, the Board of Regents, which is who controls who's the coaches are for Oklahoma State, almost just said, "Hey, see you later. We're kicking out the door." And I'm going, man, hey, we were in the Big 12 championship in 2021 and in 2023. What are we doing? You're going to kick Gundy out the door because of 1 3-9 season? That seems insane, especially when it completes the years before Gundy. Yeah, Les Miles was great, but he wasn't here that long. And you've got Pat Jones, who just wasn't that great either. Like we got made fun of. I was the one kid wearing orange, to school. I was the guy who was like, okay, this is kind of a tough deal. And now it's like, okay, everyone's got a take on Gundy. Everyone knows who he is. Everyone knows Oklahoma State football. So his legacy to me is, hey, he's brought Oklahoma State to I'm a man, I'm 40, but also has much more of a statement behind that of a winning stretch of 10 game wins, 10 game seasons that he's won. Like year after year, hey, he's won against Texas. Like, I mean, it used to be Texas just had our card. When playing Colt McCoy, it's like, okay, I guess Texas is going to come back and beat us. It sucks. But I don't think Sam Ellinger ever beat Oklahoma State. He was at Texas for 4 or 5 years as a starter. And Gundy's got a great legacy like that of beating programs year after year, year in, year out, and being just steady with it. But it's not that he's just beating up on KU. It's he's beating up on K State. He's beating up on Iowa State. He's beating up on Texas Tech. He's beating up on Texas A&M when they were in the conference, Mizzou when they were in the conference. So to me, he's got a great legacy, but it could end poorly. If this season doesn't go well and he retires, I think his legacy will still be pretty much there. But if he somehow sits around for another year or two and is a little bit below expectations, and all of a sudden you've got a couple of brothers of mine who are 18 and 20, and all they know is Gundy, going, well, he wasn't that great because during my college years, he kind of team was really just performing below expectations. I think that'll really sour his tenure at Oklahoma State too. So great expectations so far, and I'm curious what others think about his legacy in college football, but I think it's pretty good. I think it's brought Oklahoma State much more into the national media site. He's got the several different clips here and there of where he's on Sports Center on ESPN, or he's got a soundbite or two. Soundbites from last season aren't great when he's calling the fans poor, but when he's sticking up for his players and saying, hey, I'm a man, I'm 40, come after me. Stop talking about the backup quarterback being fed chicken noodle soup by his mom while he's changing in the locker room and how he's a poor kid. And instead, let's talk about us winning, and winning that game is a much different thing. And I would love to see Gundy get back into that kind of a mindset of I'm sticking up for all these guys on the team. We're doing real well. And it seems like with the NIL stuff that this offseason, it's kind of had a change of taste to say. He's all of a sudden now on social media wearing chains and being blinged out and doing all the fun stuff that you kind of see as some of the other younger head coaches doing. So I think there's a real good chance here that he does have a really good season compared to expectations, which is probably going back to a bowl game because we've got a brand new team this year too.
Yeah, he's the mullet wearing guy. He's gone from the mullet and I'm a man, I'm 40 to a gray beard, man. He's one of the he might be, I'm trying to think in my head right now real fast, the longest tenured coach currently in college football.
I think Kyle Whittingham might have him by a year or two at
Really?
Utah, but it's close.
I
Yeah,
don't know.
if
I think Urban might have been at Utah in the early two. Maybe it's close. It's close.
and then Iowa, I forget.
Oh,
Kirk,
Kirk Ferentz. How could you? Kirk
yeah,
Ferentz has been there since the 90s. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, but Kirk Ferentz, yeah.
but it's very close to being
Yeah,
the
he's
longest
he's
tenured.
he's in that he's one of five, right? So, uh but yeah, he's gone from the I'm a man, I'm 40 to one of the statesmen in college football. There's no doubt about that. I think that's kind of the legacy from a national standpoint. That's how I would look at it. Is he's an elder statesman in college football. He was there when the NCAA football game existed, and he's here when the NCAA football game came back. So that's one way to look at it. And he's been successful at a place that really wasn't successful. So you got to give him credit for that. You mentioned it. You mentioned the portal. You mentioned that this roster has completely turned over. Let's talk a little bit about that. What does OSU look like this year now that the roster's pretty much like been complete, and the coaching staff for that matter, completely turned over? What's this offseason been like as a Cowboy fan?
It's been great because it's been new. I mean, the Casey Dunn old offense coordinator experience, who I haven't touched on yet, that experience was really wore out its welcome of just, all right, like we're doing the same thing every play. We're got a system in place. It seems like this is just cyclical. It's the same thing year over year where, hey, what are we doing? We got to do some new offensive stuff. We got to run some guys in motion, before play snaps. We've got to do some things that are a little bit different here. And that's happened. Doug Meacham, former Oklahoma State staffer on the athletic program with Gundy back in kind of 2010, 2008. I think he was here actually 05 to 2012. He comes back, but he's coming from TCU. He's a wide receiver coach there, and he brings in a transfer quarterback who's still got 4 years of eligibility, and Haas Haney. Haas is a really highly touted guy coming out of Texas. Now he had offers from Baylor and BYU and TCU, of course, and others, but he wasn't like a 5-star guy or anything like that. So I don't want to hype him up too much. But he's a guy who would be playing a much different style of football than we're used to at Oklahoma State. He's not part of the air raid. He's not part of doing a bunch of stuff. He's a guy who is lighter on his feet and is definitely a more of a truck kind of guy. I mean, he's definitely not going to slide past you. He's going to run through you. But that'd be a much different Oklahoma State offense than we've seen previously. So either he's going to start, he comes over with the new offensive coordinator, or it's going to be a guy who's been on the roster for it seems like forever now, but just because Zane Flores is a 3-star guy who came out of Nebraska, best player out of Nebraska the year that we recruited him. You had Matt Rule when he went to Nebraska trying to get him at the last couple moments to switch and change to come to Nebraska before he got Dylan Raiola. And Zane is Zane is the guy. I mean, he is known as being in every single practice I've seen, the practice I'm able to go to, all type of stuff here. Of course, it's not showing us all the media, all the fun stuff here in the spring of like letting us into practice when we can actually see who's getting the first snaps or how the ball's floating. But in the spring game so far for Oklahoma State and in every single other type of film I've ever seen about Zane, he's the guy who can air the ball out, real nice spiral to it. He's the guy who's going to stretch the field a little bit with some deep balls. It seems like the roster is constructed more in that fashion.
Mhm.
I'm curious if Oklahoma State will go that way. And when I say that is that you've got a guy who is another couple transfers here, of course, I'm going to name, but you've got some wide receivers and tight ends and other guys at skill positions around the roster and running backs who are known as pass catchers or pass blockers in the running back position. Definitely some of the offensive line is like that too. And it seems like either Oklahoma State has best of both worlds or mediocre options at best at both, just trying to give us a baseline. And honestly, after last year, I'm cool with either way. This year, we've got to go play in Eugene at Oregon. And there's no way we win that game. I'll just tell you right now, if we win that game, all hell broke loose. Something in Eugene happened crazy. Phil Knight swearing under his breath and probably to the media, and he's saying, "I'm 80, I'm a man." I mean, there's just some weird, random stuff going on there because there's no way to beat Oregon at Oregon.
Well, Oregon has trouble with teams with the initials OSU. So
They do, which is working for us. They got a troubles with OSU. They've had
Ohio
a
State,
frequent
Oregon
foe who's
State, yeah.
yeah, frequent foe that I know they hate seeing orange and black coming, that's for sure. So,
Right.
they definitely hate seeing the OSU coming no matter what. So we've got that going for us, but this is a season of, okay, we're rebuilding. Like there used to be the adage around Oklahoma of OU every year just reloads and Oklahoma State rebuilds. We'll have a 2011 season, then maybe a 2012ish season, then we'll need a little bit to kind of build up. But for years now, it's kind of been Gundy just reloads. He just all of a sudden has guys waiting in place, and there's the okay, all right, we went from Chuba Hubbard to Ollie Gordon. It's like went from one NFL guy to another NFL type guy. And now it's kind of is this a reload season or is this a rebuild season? How close are we to getting back into relevancy here? Can we knock off a couple of the teams in the Big 12 that year in, year out we have, but everyone's so new? And the defensive side of the ball, too, is the same deal. We've got a brand new defensive coordinator in Todd Grantham, who's a former guy who's coached around in Florida. He's coached in Vandy. He's coached around the Saints here before coming to Stillwater. So what's he got going? I mean, there's just a lot of experience coaching here at Oklahoma State now, and a lot of former Oklahoma State guys, and like Cooper Bassett, who's a former tight end, coming back to the team. So I'm real curious and really excited about it because there's just so many new things here. It's not going to be the stale like, all right, Gundy's boy Casey Dunn coming back for another year. We'll see what we can do here. We'll see what the offense looks like. Maybe it'll be a little bit different. And then there's always the, well, was Gundy really calling the plays here? If it was he really having final ruling on all offensive plays, or was it Casey Dunn? And I think a lot of people would go, no, it was Casey Dunn. And that's what I want to believe because Gundy's still here. But I would be short sighted to say, oh yeah, that was all Casey Dunn's idea to be running the, fourth and 3 draw up the middle when we haven't gotten a push all day. That's definitely what he's doing. As opposed to going, Gundy knows what he played with, and he knows, hey, if I've got a good running back there, I'm going to hand off the ball and kind of see what we got here. I mean, it's going to be a fun year for Oklahoma State football and seeing what this season looks like, at least for the first couple of games. First game of the year, UT Martin at home. If that's not a win, it's a real bad season. But if we play as well in the first couple of games, and the rest of the Big 12, I don't know how it's seen naturally, but the rest of the Big 12 to me is all kind of very even. All the odds makers would tell you it's like maybe Iowa State, maybe Arizona State, maybe K State, maybe BYU. I mean, all those teams have returning quarterbacks. Baylor's got a good returning quarterback as well too. So, what does the season look like Big 12 wise? Like who will stand out? Who will separate themselves? Because last year, Arizona State won the conference, and preseason wise, they're ranked 13th. So who knows what's going to happen? It just could be a
Yeah.
very, very weird year again, too. Oklahoma State was supposed to win the conference or be top 3, and we lost every single conference game. Utah was supposed to be up there. They lost a lot of conference games as well, too. They kind of beat us and then also dropped off the face of the earth. And then K State was supposed to be good. K State, you know this better than most. K State says, we're good on Will Howard. All right, we're good. We got Avery Johnson. We got this guy who can run almost a 4.4, who's got great passing ability. We're good on Will Howard. Thanks, Will. We love you. And Will Howard goes to the other OSU and wins a natty. So I don't know how K State fans are feeling. You know, what I mean, like what are their thoughts on Avery Johnson? Are they a little sour in the tooth as well now? We'll see.
Shout out to Cocaine Willie. They
Yeah.
called. I had them on the podcast, and they said, You guys are gonna love Will Howard." They were right. We love him. So, okay, let me ask you a Big 12 question before we dive into the expectations of your 2025 season and take a look at your schedule that you've already hinted at a little bit. Is the Big 12 just so like even that it from week to week anybody can beat anybody? Because that's kind of what it felt like last year.
Honestly, yeah. I would love to know what the ACC guys think about the Big 12 and like how they think we stack up because there's just a lot of weird things that happen with all the new conference realignment and the Big 12 was already playing some Pac-12 games. So for example, this year you've got Arizona who plays K-State in a non-conference matchup, but they're both in the Big 12. So you
Yeah,
got
they
some weird stuff
they
like
did that
that going
last
on.
year too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they both have that home and home deal. It's kind of odd, but you've also got some weird things here where Arizona is bringing back the same quarterback last year, but Noah Fafita was not it last year, and they lose their number 8 overall draft pick. Ted McMillan, Oklahoma State's like, man, what's going on? But really, it seems like there's like 6 teams in the conference that could win it. Iowa State, Utah's up there. They just brought in that great transfer in Devin Dampier. And then you've got BYU bringing back their starting quarterback from last year and Jake Retzlaff, the Jewish, BYU guy, which is always a fun story there as well too. But then you've also got KU bringing back Jalen Dean, all these experienced guys coming back. But several guys who just didn't separate themselves. So will Dave Aranda and Baylor like put their names on the map, go to the college football playoff? They've got Sawyer Robertson there, who's been there a little bit, starting quarterback, had a great year last year, performed above expectations. Or will Texas Tech, who's done every single thing in the portal. Every time I look at the portal, I'm like, Texas Tech did that? They spent that much? Man, they've got some oil money out there. They're doing some
Yeah.
crazy things. They're getting everyone. They went 9-3 last year all these things. They've got apparently more than $10 million just quoted from site to site. The transfer portal haul, this is from 247. And are they going to be great? But then again, Texas Tech always seems to fall below expectations when they're hyped up. Kind of a little bit like some other teams in the Big 12. Or will Kenny Dillingham and Arizona State go back to the promised land again? They've got the same quarterback, Sam Levitt, they did last year, and figured he'd only be better. But then again, I always bring up Scadaboo threw a touch pass like in the college football playoffs. So he's not on the roster anymore. So how does the release valve and the kind of the always there, always good to go to when the clutch moments, Scadaboo, what happens now? Like where are they going to
Hmm.
stand? So I think it's really just a bunch of teams stacked up there and like all six grouped together that I just mentioned, and then you've got kind of like everyone else, including Colorado. I mean, I don't think Colorado's going to have a good season. I don't see them bouncing back. I don't see um, yeah, K State, who knows? But then, of course, then after that, I think there's the Oklahoma State, UCF. We kind of start, TCU and others that are hoping to get to a bowl game this year too.
Let's dive into the schedule here. I've got it pulled up beside us. You mentioned it. If you guys lose the UT Martin, just circle the wagons and head on out of Stillwater. That shouldn't happen. On the road at Oregon, obviously the Ducks are going to be a preseason top 10 football team, and then home against Tulsa, and then you go into Big 12 play. So 9 conference games, 3 non-con. Feeling what? 2-1 in the non-con, kind of feeling good about that, or are you
Yeah,
a little worried about Tulsa?
I had the guys who also called Huddle members, the Golden Hurricast on, and I had them on last year previewing that game. And they're like, "Hey, it's Oklahoma State by 50, and we only won by 35." So I feel like we did meet their expectations last year. But talking to them this year a little bit here, just kind of offline, they're not high on the team. They've got brand new coaching. They brand new
Yeah.
got new quarterback. The Tulsa's like, hey, and it's this one's in Stillwater too. Tulsa does not have a great home crowd, and of course, Stillwater to Tulsa is like maybe a 60-mile drive for Oklahomans. That's nothing because there's no traffic in Oklahoma, as anyone probably knows. So it's just a straight shot. But that's tough. It's a tough Tulsa deal there. I there's no way we don't go 2-1. I would be shocked if we go 3-0, but I'd also be very surprised if we do not go at least 2-1 with the non-conference.
All right, let's dive into the conference schedule. You got Baylor at home, Arizona on the road, and then you've got Houston at home. Again, I kind of look at that and I can see Oklahoma State going 3-0, and I can see you going like 1-2. And then Cincinnati at home, Texas Tech on the road, Kansas on the road, K State at home, UCF on the road, Iowa State to finish things off at home. No Colorado is on this. No BYU is on this schedule. Who am I missing?
Arizona State's not here.
Yeah,
We don't have to go to Utah, which is great. There are some teams here. We don't. TCU's kind of just not a ton of fun to play, but we also don't get to play like what we don't play Cincinnati, or do we do play Cincinnati for homecoming this year,
yeah,
which is great. We should kind of just roll over them and make it easy. But West Virginia is kind of the one where I'm like,
yeah.
I'm
West
glad
Virginia.
glad glad we escaped without having to play West Virginia because going to Morgantown is never fun.
So I look at the schedule and I'd be really disappointed if you're not going bowling.
So here's how I mapped it out. I just literally just did this on my last podcast here. It came out on Friday, May 2nd, and went through the entire schedule of what I'm thinking. So Baylor and Sawyer Robertson, I could easily see them coming into Stillwater, just kind of giving us our licks, beating us that first conference game. But if we do not go to Arizona, beat them, when that team won 4 games last year, they do not return a lot of the same guys they had last year. And then if we don't have a Houston easy win at home, the rest of the schedule looks very bleak. We generally always win our homecoming game. That's Cincinnati there. That's why there's the box around it. We've got to win the homecoming game no matter what. I mean, it just has to happen. But then going to Tech, that's going to be tough. They won 9 games last year. They returned a lot of guys. KU's got Jalen Daniels. They've got a brand new stadium. I hate saying KU's a good football team because it's never been true, really, until maybe the last 2 seasons,
Right.
but
Yeah.
they get to keep their head coach around for a couple years. When does KU get to keep a promising coach around for a couple years? It just doesn't
Never.
happen. Eric
No.
Mangini was the last guy where I'm like, "Yeah, I kinda remember him as a head coach for KU," but Lance Leipold, th they get to keep him around. I mean, KU could be good. Not great. I wanna temper expectations here, but they could easily win 8 or 9 games in conference. There's no one that's gonna really stand out to me, and that's why I'm worried about that KU game. And then K-State, who knows what we're getting this year out of Avery Johnson? The Bounce House at UCF. Last time we went there, it was horrible. I mean, we lost by like 42, 43. We didn't score a point. It was a rainy, wet day. We didn't bring our cleats for that weather. They were wearing their space unis. They looked all decked out. It was just a horrible game. So I don't want to think about the UCF game as a win. Um, and then Iowa State at home. I would think that Iowa State at home game is going to be like, all right, are we at 6 or 7 wins here going to that one? Just because earlier on in the season, it maps out kind of nicely. Arizona, Houston, Cincy. We've got to win all 3 of those. Baylor won in Oregon. I'm already counting as losses just in my head here. It's tough to think of those as wins after last season and how both those teams are going to be really good. Oregon, I don't have to say much about. Baylor brings back starting quarterback and head coach. So that to me is nice for them, but not nice for the rest of us here in Stillwater. And then Texas Tech, they're another team here that they do not play a Power Four team out of conference. They bring back both their head coach and quarterback. They do have 2 games in a row before a bye week coming into Stillwater, so that could be kind of nice. That they're coming into Stillwater with a second game in a row, no bye week. But Texas Tech is, or excuse me, when we go to their place, it just Lubbock's weird. I don't know if anyone knows much about the geography of Texas, but like Oklahoma City to Lubbock is 6 hours. Dallas to Lubbock is like 5 hours. I mean, 6 hours. It's not close to much. So you go out there and you're like, what are we getting here? And Oklahoma State has beaten the crap out of Texas Tech before. But we've also kind of just had some weirdly odd games. So, and they're supposed to be good this year. They bring back both head coach and quarterback. KU does the same. Um, the things going for Oklahoma State here is that we don't have the toughest schedule in the Big 12 overall, but we also just we don't get the benefit of playing one of those teams that does have the toughest schedule. Like TCU, in my mind, they played 2 non-conference Power Four opponents. Baylor technically does as well too, I will say, and we play Baylor, but we don't get to play TCU, and yeah, we just don't get to beat up on a couple of these teams that may be a little bit weaker earlier on the season, and we do have to play a couple of teams that are kind of experienced earlier on, like Noah Fafita in Arizona playing at home. Brett Brennan's still the head coach, I believe. They're gonna know what's up. Like it's not like an Arizona game will be easy when we've got a brand new starting quarterback. Our quarterback room has 18 snaps total. So it's not a huge confidence builder from everything on paper so far.
So give me your worst case scenario, your floor, and give me your best case scenario, your ceiling.
I think worst case scenario, it's very, very close here in worst and best because that's kind of just how Gundy does things. He's not a big risk taker when it comes to games in the final couple minutes. So I think worst case scenario is we go 5-7. We win UT Martin, we win against Tulsa, and then Houston and Cincy got to be wins. And then there's one more win that I'm counting in there. It's the Arizona, it's the KU, it's the UCF. Those are the 5 wins. The best case scenario, I think, is 7-5. I think we win those 5 that I just mentioned: Martin, Tulsa, then Cincy and Houston, and then we win 3 other games. We somehow, hey, Rocco Becht with Iowa State doesn't just look great this year. They've kind of been wishy washy. We beat them at home for senior day. We beat K State, or we beat Baylor, or we somehow sneak out a win in Lubbock or in Lawrence. And I think that's how we get to 7 wins on the flip side of it too.
Slim margins this year for Gundy and the Cowboys. Interesting. Interesting. Okay. All right. I'm going to put you on the spot here real fast. The Big 12 gets one team in the college football playoff in 2025. Who is it and why?
I hate saying it because I really hate green and gold, but it's Baylor. It's Sawyer Robertson, Dave Aranda. It's the team out in Waco. They have not the easiest schedule in the Big 12, but they just Waco's a weird place to play. A lot of these Big 12 schools benefit from being in weird environments. Like I don't want to go to Provo, Utah, and play again anytime soon because I feel like they kind of won last year because they were just it's such an odd place. We couldn't hang on, couldn't keep winning. I'm also not looking forward to going to Utah whenever that is in the future either. And that sustains here with Waco, Texas. Like, I mean, some of these schools that are in the Big 12 have just insane travel times and travel disparities. I know that's all around the country now, but like this isn't necessarily like, hey, we're going Ohio State to Oregon, we're just staying like north, and that's it. This is you got schools that are Cincy to Baylor, then you've got Baylor going to West Virginia, and you've got Baylor going to UCF. You just got all these weird things where I trust more of the experienced head coach and quarterback. If Gundy was able to bring back an experienced quarterback this year, I'd like our chances a ton more just because Gundy's been around for forever. He's seen a lot of things. He knows how to coach guys up. He's been around, but Big 12's a bunch of guys who are wet behind their ears comparatively to Dave Aranda and Sawyer Robertson down there in Baylor. And Sawyer transferred from Mississippi State. He couldn't beat out the quarterback starting there. He didn't want to, maybe, and had a better shot at Baylor. So this is his second year in the Big 12. He gets to show off a little bit more. And yeah, Baylor didn't have the greatest season last year, but they had a pretty good one and one above expectations. I think they're floating under the radar a little bit here. And yeah, I just think they could do it. I think they could be there. I think they could be the preseason 7 or 4 team somewhere in there because everyone's so close together. And then all of a sudden it's like, hang on a second, Baylor's off to the races here. They're,
Mm.
they're cruising. Yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, they've got Power Four out of conference. They get to kind of have a warm up season. They play 2 teams non-conference. They're Power Fours. We'll see how they do. There's very few schools in the Big 12 who don't play at least one team out of conference in the Power Four. But Baylor plays 2 of them, and Baylor could easily be tested easily and early in their season, where all of a sudden when they come to Stillwater, it's they're ready, and we're
Hmm.
going, yeah, we just beat Tulsa, whoop de doo, kind of like, all right, we can whirl through whoever after losing to Oregon a little bit. Yeah, we'll through Baylor and it just being absolutely a smack in the mouth.
Mm. Interesting. Cal, tell everybody where they can find the CGA tour and how to follow you, my man.
Yeah, so the Calvin Glenn Alexander, and hence the name of the podcast, is my initials here. Calvin Glenn Alexander Tour is on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, of course, and everywhere you listen to podcasts. Breaker, Speaker, everywhere you could think of. Pocket Casts, I mean, TikTok. We're all over TikTok now with all the podcast clips here. I'm trying to get out a couple of those a day, Instagram Reels, everything as it is at the CGA Tour.
Awesome. Oh, if that all fails, just go over to thecollegehuddle.com, head on over to the Big 12, scroll down to Oklahoma State. There you'll find the CGA tour, and you can find all his links to all his social media and everything else, guys. Now, one of the things I'm learning here as the host of the College Huddle, Cal, is every school kind of like a slogan or fight song or what they say to each other's fans. So if I was going to come to Stillwater and I was going to throw on some orange OSU gear, what should I say to another fan or what would they say to me so that I feel like I'm a part of the Cowboy Nation?
All right, so I'm going to explain a little bit here because out of context, this seems weird, but you're going to say Go Pokes because we are the Cowboys or Cow Pokes, and then we're shortening all of it just to Go Pokes. So hashtag GOPOKES, Go Pokes. And really just, pistols firing works well too. We've really just been doing that here because Texas Tech wants to rebrand themselves as doing that. Well, we've been doing that for years. So we've got a little bit of hate to Texas Tech here in Lubbock. That's that. I'd love to do a new Big 12 rivals podcast at some point too, because there's got to be
Oh,
some new rivalries
yeah.
popping up here and there. And that's one of those. So Oklahoma State's got to take off with the Texas Tech deal. It's just
Yeah,
too
I was
close.
gonna ask. Thank you for reminding me. I was gonna ask you what's the new rival since Oklahoma apparently wants to go to the SEC and get dog walked by everybody. So it's Texas Tech, huh? It's the Red Raiders.
I right now, yeah. Last year didn't really make a big difference in that. But yeah, OU's ducking us and everything. They don't want to wrestle against us. They don't want to play us in Stillwater for softball or baseball or whatever. So yeah, we've got to find a new foe here since they got basically just beaten down in the SEC, and I don't know when that'll stop. So maybe they'll walk their back to the Big 12 at some point. But until then, it's probably going to be Texas Tech and the Red Raiders out in Lubbock.
There you go. Excellent, guys. Check out Cal over at the CGA Tour, everybody. Make sure you like this video. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. We really do appreciate that. If you're an Oklahoma State fan, welcome. Please consider following us here at the College Huddle. Make sure you go over to the CGA Tour and you give Cal your love as well. Till next time, everybody, go Pokes!
Go Pokes! Thanks so much.